This is Tuesday, and our topic is to love God. That God is all powerful does not mean that he can do the logically impossible. Accordingly, God cannot casually determine that someone freely loves him. If freely doing something means to do something without being determined to do it, then by definition it is impossible to make someone freely do something. In short, as we have seen and must re-emphasize, God cannot force anyone to love him. For the moment it's forced, it is no longer love. Let's read Matthew chapter 22 verse 37 and Deuteronomy chapter 6 verse 4 to 5. After that, we'll see what these verses teach about the reality of free will. Okay? So Matthew 22 verse 37 and Deuteronomy chapter 6 verse 4 to 5. So Matthew 22 verse 37 says, Jesus said unto him, Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. I repeat, Jesus said unto him, Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. New King James Version. Deuteronomy chapter 6 verse 4 to 5, King James Version says, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord, and thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thine heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy might. New King James Version. So after reading this, what do these two texts, of course, and many others, teach about the reality of free will? The greatest commandment, to love God, provides evidence that God does indeed want everyone to love him. However, not everyone does love God. Why then does God simply not make everyone to love him? Again, that is because love to be loved must be freely given. Read also Hebrews chapter 6 verse 17 to 18 and Titus chapter 1 verse 2. After that, what do these texts teach about God? According to Numbers 23 verse 19, and I quote, God is not man that he should lie. That is English Standard Version. God never lies, as per Titus chapter 1 verse 2. God always keeps his word and never breaks a promise, as per Hebrews chapter 6 verse 17 to 18. Accordingly, if God has promised or committed himself to something, his future action is morally limited by that promise. This means that insofar as God, in most cases, grants creatures the freedom to choose otherwise than what God prefers, it is not up to God what humans choose. If God has committed himself to granting creatures free will, humans possess the ability to exercise their freedom in ways that go against God's ideal desires. Tragically, many people do exercise their freedom in this way, and accordingly, there are many things that occur that God wishes did not, but that are not, strictly speaking, up to God. Our question for today: what have you done that you knew God didn't want you to do? What does this teach about the reality and possible frightful consequences of free will? That's the question for today. I can repeat. What have you done that you knew God didn't want you to do? What does this teach about the reality and possible frightful consequences of free will? This is something that we can contemplate upon and give comments. Prepare even to give your comments in the class on Sabbath. Thank you. See you tomorrow.